San Francisco is reeling from series of smash and grabs, with the DA charging 9 people with felonies over incidents at some pretty high-end stores. And the Democrat-led city is now working to combat this growing crime spree by limiting car access to shopping districts and also using a protective barrier to try and secure the luxury shopping center. But locals say it looks more like a war zone there. And all this comes on the heels of other brazen robberies throughout the state. But a woke professor is cautioning against calling these incidents looting, writing, "Looting is a term that we typically use when people of color or urban dwellers are doing something. We tend not to use that term for other people when they do the exact same thing." I'm sorry, looting, Joe, is looting. Looting is breaking into a store and grabbing everything you can and dashing. I mean, what other definition is there to looting? I mean, are we that ridiculous now that we're actually defining what actual looting is based on the color of your skin?
Julie, it's looting. It's looting. It is looting. I will repeat that over and over again until heads explode. By the way, who is the prominent congressperson who represents San Francisco again? Is it Nancy Kerrigan? No, Nancy Drew, Nancy Sinatra. Oh, Nancy Pelosi. Right.
Who just, by the way, bought a $25 million mansion. Did you guys see this? As she's about to enter retirement, she just bought a $25 million mansion. So Joe Biden should go stay there next, actually. Maybe Christmas. Yeah. He'll spend his Christmas at that $25 million mansion.
Do you think she brings the fridge and the freezer that had all that ice cream in it? That fridge was the size of my Hoboken apartment when I lived there way back when, which wasn't that big, trust me. But it's funny, she's never held accountable. London Breed, who is the never trust anybody who's named after a city, by the way, whether you're playing cards or electing them, as far as that's concerned. But they're never held accountable for their own performances in their own cities, their own districts. And look, Best Buy, right? Their shares are now down 20% since the chain cited losses from organized theft, particularly in San Francisco. Its CEO now warning, Julie, workers will quit, and says, quote, "This is a real issue that hurts and scares peaceful." And it's just like mostly peaceful protests as far as our media is concerned in covering this. This is getting some coverage. But again, I want to see the outrage. I want to see the real editorial saying this is unacceptable in this country. It needs to stop. And we just don't seem to see it, guys.
A high-level source of mine within the NYPD tells me this, Kaylee. When did it become okay to commit a crime? Period. There needs to be more discussion on store theft. End of story. It's a crime. Make arrests. I mean, there are police officers that literally just sit with their arms folded as these people are breaking into stores, filling up garbage bags and walking out. And why? Because the police officers literally have no power to make those arrests because of these Democratic lawmakers.
Right. And then they make the arrest. And then, like in the case of Darrell Brooks, they get out on bail for $500 to $1,000. And I was reading about how demoralizing that is from police. I know you have good sources in NYPD and elsewhere, and you hear about that often. But I asked on Monday, how does this happen? 80 people organized with equipment. The mayor, interestingly, said social media is at the epicenter of all of this planning, which is just fascinating to think. He wouldn't say whether it was Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I don't know. But 80 people coordinating on social media with equipment and then looting. Yeah, let's call it what it is. It's looting. Let's not worry about nomenclature. Let's worry about stopping this.
And my NYPD source also says that this is just the beginning. And he's absolutely right. If we don't fix the problem of law enforcement in this country soon, it may not be fixable. And basically outlining the fact that police work is ugly, not because police want it to be, but because it's what police deal with every single day. And imagine, and he challenges anyone with a job to have what they have and have that day broken down into a tenth of seconds and Monday morning quarterbacked. We would all be a society of bad people. I mean, Tommy, the cops are not allowed to do their jobs because if they do, they are racial profiling, or they are overusing their power. Their power is to protect us as law-abiding citizens and take the criminals to jail. They don't even have the power to do that.
That's a big part of the problem, especially in places like California, and you're exactly right. The officers are demoralized. They have to look at the race of the suspect to decide if they're going to make an action because they don't want to be labeled racist if that person happens to be a person of color. That's a big problem. There's a couple other issues here, though. It's a culture of lawlessness. We went through an entire summer 2020 where we called things like that justice, where we likened that to reparations. People can just steal, loot, and riot, and it's okay because of the death of George Floyd and others. So we made that mistake, and we're going to spend a long time correcting doing it. But again, as we talked about with Darrell Brooks, it is also the policies, especially in places like California. They have crime reclassification. They reclassify felonies as misdemeanors. So these criminals are emboldened. The law enforcement officers, they are strapped. They have their hands tied behind their back. They are demoralized. They are defunded. You have a culture of lawlessness sweeping this nation, and it will not be solved until you change your leaders.
I mean, look at New York City. I mean, that's a perfect example as to what has happened in the city, led by a Democratic mayor, de Blasio, during the pandemic. He destroyed us.
Yeah, and now because of the vaccine mandates here in New York City, a lot of police officers, they're saying enough is enough, and they're moving. They're moving to other places as well.
They are retiring early.
And it seems to be that so many systems are protecting the criminals and not the people. I mean, Prop 47, that's what Tommy's talking about out in California. They've reduced shoplifting to a misdemeanor if it's under $950. That is a slap on the wrist. It emboldens the criminals. And they're going into, the expensive stores like Neiman Marcus, but also regular pharmacies who are having to close down right now.
Yes, exactly. Walgreens, 5 stores. Yeah.